Well, welcome everyone to our Fireside Chat. I'd like to thank you all for attending here, either online or here in person at OSMH. My name's Laurie Petras. I shouldn't have to read that off the notes. This newly appointed chair of the board here at OSMH at our most recent inaugural board meeting. I'm entering my 7th year on the board. I have been first vice chair for the past 2 years, and prior to that, I was second vice chair for 2 years. Been the chair of our resources committee and also the chair of our governance committees. Our fireside chats are designed to be very interactive, so feel free to ask questions either within the room or via the chat function if you're online. We have a few items to present, including a year in review that will be done by Carmen Stumpo, our CEO and president. We'll also be posting the video of this chat for others to view once the evening is completed. Excuse me, we have 2 videos to share with you now. We have changed our annual report from our print electronic document that we had done in the past to an online video, which we can share online and people can review at their leisure. So with that, we'll start with the first video about our annual report.
This is a tremendously exciting time for Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital, and it's been my pleasure to serve as chair for the past 2 years. I'm proud to introduce our annual report for 2023-24, a video postcard of our continued progress and many successes. As our community adapts to rapid population growth, our hospital does too, staying true to our mission to serve our community with compassion and excellence. From the bedside to the balance sheet, we have positioned ourselves strongly to meet the hospital needs of today with an eye to the future. Thank you to the OSMH team for your unwavering commitment to quality care and to the community for your ongoing support.
We acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of this region, specifically the Tri-Council First Nations comprised of Beausoleil First Nation, the Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island. We also acknowledge Moose Deer Point First Nation, the Wata Mohawks, and the Georgian Bay and Moon River Métis Councils. It should also be noted that the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee Nations have also walked on this territory over time.
What an incredible year to celebrate. As you've just seen, we've made tremendous progress as an organization and built plenty of positive momentum to carry us forward into an exciting future. It reaffirms that our strategic plan is working. Driven by our mission to serve our community with compassion and excellence, we continue to be guided by our shared purpose, being a community that is committed to improving health and wellness. I too want to thank the incredible team at OSMH that make all of this possible, and to those who place their trust in the care we provide. Thank you for taking the time to watch our annual report for 2023-24, and we look forward to another exciting year ahead.
That video moves along at a reasonably good pace, so we'll touch on a few, Carmen will touch on a few of those items shortly. I do want to say that coming into the position now, chair of the board is during really exciting times. There are a lot of, as that video shows, there have been so many good things that have occurred this year, and building the foundation for moving ahead with really great things to come, and really excited to be part of that. So earlier this week, the hospital also hosted its annual general meeting. During that time, we had changes to our board. As always, we have arrivals and departures. We paid tribute to outgoing board members, Sheila Marner, Brian Servadon, and Jamie Williams, along with Chief of Staff, Dr. Lindsay Alston. Also, Lagai Burt, who was our chair, served for 2 terms and led us on a couple of really strong campaigns in changing our governance model to be in line with Ontario Not-for-Profit Corporation, which we needed to do, and also bringing in more of a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion in our hospital, in our practices, in our bylaws and policies. We have 3 new board members, and we thought the best way to introduce them is by a video, which we will play now.
My name is Kunle Akimbola. I'm a professor of human resources and organizational behavior at Lakehead University, the Aurelia campus. Thank you for inviting me to join the board of OSMH. Over my academic career, I've primarily been an organizational behavior and HR professional as well as an academic. I have participated in research and led research on hospitals and non-profits primarily. And in terms of my family, most members of my family are involved in the healthcare sector, either as a student currently or as employees in hospitals. And I am looking forward to the opportunity to contribute to the advancement of the mission and goals of OSMH in Aurelia and neighboring communities. As well, I'm looking forward to working with everybody to achieve the goals and activities of the hospital in the community. Thank you.
My name is Paul Beachley. I'm a candidate for the board of directors of Soldiers Memorial Hospital. I've lived in the Aurelia area for 35 years. I'm married with 2 adult children. Both my wife and my children were actually born at Soldiers Memorial Hospital. I've enjoyed a 35-year career in law enforcement, serving as a member of the RCMP, the Aurelia Police Service, and for the last 24 years of my career as a member of the OPP. My cross-command leadership experience with the Ontario Provincial Police included 10 years as the manager of Professional Standards Bureau, the director of Anti-Rackets Branch, the director of Organised Crime Enforcement, the director of Criminal Investigation Support Services, as the commander of the Investigation Support Bureau and as the interim deputy commissioner, of investigations and organized crime. I was fortunate to lead the development and implementation of several change management initiatives within the OPP, and have represented the Government of Ontario at the provincial, national, and international levels regarding issues of public safety and new public safety initiatives. I'm a life member of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police. My previous governance experience includes tenures as the Joint Governance Board Chair of the Ontario Serious Fraud Office, the co-chair of the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, a board member of Serene Risk, which is a Canadian cybersecurity knowledge network funded by the federal government, and a term as president of the Ontario Provincial Police Commissioners Officers Association. I'm a member of the Order of Merit of Police Forces and hold a Bachelor of Business Administration from Simon Fraser University, a Master of Science in Public Policy and Management from the Centre of Financial and Management Studies at the University of London, England, and I have completed executive education at Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. I look forward to the opportunity of serving our community as a member of the Aurelia Soldiers Memorial Hospital Board of Directors. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan McVeigh, and I'm delighted to be considered for a position on the Board of Directors at Soldiers Memorial Hospital. I first moved to Aurelia in 2015 and have been proudly raising my family here ever since. I've always taken a strong interest in the success of our community hospital. My youngest son was born there, and I look forward to learning more about its operations from a governance perspective. My background and skill set is quite diverse. I'm Associate Professor of Interdisciplinary Studies at Lakehead University. I have a PhD and a master's degree in sociology and a bachelor's degree in urban planning. Before coming to Lakehead, I spent over a decade working in national office at the Royal Bank doing user experience design. Outside of my background in sociology, urban planning, and finance, I have extensive committee experience at all levels of the university. This includes my department, the Senate, and the Faculty Association. I'm extremely excited to leverage my expertise in support of the soldiers community, and I look forward to working with you all over the years and months ahead in that capacity.
I'd just like to add about our board composition. So we have 3 new board members joining us this year. Every year we have 4 positions that come up that are either for renewal or to be filled. And every year prior to that time, usually in around January, all board members, all 12 elected board members fill out a skills matrix to identify what skills do they have, what skills have they advanced, and what knowledge do they have. And then and through that process, we identify what skills are we a little short on? Where can we use a little bit more expertise? And I have to say, with the board members we have joining us this year, fills a number of different areas where we're a little weak. I really look forward to leading the board as chair, because I think we're going to have a very strong and productive board. And now it's time to introduce Carmen Stumpo, President and CEO, to bring a little more discussion on the video you saw.
Thank you, Laurie. I'll start by thanking the board. I agree. Looking forward to working with this board. For those that are leaving, a sincere gratitude for all their hard work. Those incoming, very excited to get to work with them. And those that are here that could continue to serve. It's a huge commitment, and it's something that we are very grateful for. As Laurie said, the video goes pretty quickly. So I'm going to start with a quiz. Who remembers how many babies were born last year? Okay, 1,097. Do I hear something else? 62. Oh, glad you saw this a couple of times, and you are correct. Well done, well done. I have to work on a prize, because I don't have one with me. I kind of just made that one up as we're getting the slides up. But what I'd like to do this evening, and there was a lot of information there, that will be made available to everyone via internet. We'll make this accessible. We'll have it on our website. You can slow it down if you want to look at some in more detail. But we found it very difficult. We found it difficult because there was so much we wanted to share over the past year that we wanted to keep it to about 5 minutes, or else it becomes a Netflix series. So we left it at that. However, we're very proud of that, and what I'd like to do this evening is highlight a few of those elements, a few of the points, and more importantly, give people an opportunity to ask questions. So anyone in the group here, please feel free to ask questions. I'll look towards our team. If there's any questions in the group chat, feel free. And I'm not bothered at all if you want to stop me mid-sentence. If there's a number or a point you want to make during a slide, we'll keep this incredibly informal. So we went through those elements, and here we are with our year in review. I'm going to start with our announcement. It was a busy, very busy year with political advocacy, and the ability to have, in the span of just over a year, we had the Minister of Health here twice, and we had the Premier here with other ministers, with Minister Jill Dunlop as well. And they came with a $25 million investment, the majority of that permanent funding for beds. And you received a total of 62 beds, but in that, a large proportion of that was permanent funding for beds. It also included permanent funding for what's called a critical care response team, and I'll speak to that specifically. It's something. It's a team of people that come and support the entire hospital for those that are deteriorating, that may require more critical services, and to be able to intervene more quickly. This is a large investment in this organization, something we have not seen, and it's a reflection of the hard work, and it's a reflection of the growth in our community. So I'm going to start there.
What's the total budget? Just to put that into perspective.
Okay, I'm going to show you what the total budget is. So I'm going to leave you in suspense, Liz. Okay, so I'm going to start with patient days, and it tells an interesting story. So we have seen a progressive increase in patient days in this facility. So the amount of work in patient days is it's a very specific number of the number of people in the beds at midnight on any given day. And that's the way we count that. And other than that one blip around COVID when everyone kind of stayed away from hospitals for a few months, you see a very consistent predicted increase in those volumes. And that translates to increased workload, increased activity. Surgery tells a different story. Our teams did an incredible job during the pandemic. If you remember, we're open, we're closed, we're open, we're closed. They managed to keep a baseline level of surgery activities. And once we hit 23, 24, we hit our stride. This is where we saw the surgical activity increase. And Jill keeps reminding me, this isn't new. This brings us back to over 10 years ago, 2014, when we had this level of activity. So we were able to restore that. And that's in specific areas where we know the wait times were long. Orthopedic surgery, some of our longest wait times are able to double the number of hips and knees that were done from pre-pandemic times. So that was something that was provided for in a real opportunity. Now the teams are in more of a maintenance mode. We've achieved those numbers, we built it into our process, and this is now the way we're doing business in terms of the surgeries. And this is not driven by the hospital, this is driven by our community. The need that is out there. We've heard way too many times of people waiting far longer than they should to have their care closer to home. And we see value in that, and we've made it a priority in our planning. This is the critical care response team. And I know we have an inordinate number of pictures of our mannequins, which are a little bit freaky. And when you walk down this hall and you see them live, you double take because you think it's a patient. We do some amazing high fidelity simulations. So computer generated, they can mock up any kind of respiratory cardiac arrest, and teams work together. They learn together in a low risk environment where this is where we want to train our teams. And this is how our critical care teams, this response team, came together with some support from other hospitals. And this is reflective of the fact that we increased our bed counts from 8 critical care beds to 10. When you reach a certain threshold, you now qualify for additional services. The hospital is large enough, our services are large enough that we have received this service that is responsible for the entire organization, adult population from critical care exercise. This is a reflection of growth in 2 ways. In one of the stats, we flipped up the number of employees. We actually increased by 300 employees experiencing time. So when you look at, and we'll get to the numbers, the finances, the vast majority of the finances are related to jobs, to people, to work. There's equipment, there's other expenses, but that is the majority. And our teams have grown. We went from about 1,300 to 1,600 individuals in the hospital working. And that's, we talk beds as a measure of capacity. It's actually not beds. It's the patients in them and the people that serve them that drives that number. And our new MRI. So we talk a lot about care process, direct patient care. That also comes with all the support services and the diagnostics that are required. So we are able to, we've had our MRI for 15 years. A great shout out to our foundation for the fundraising. And we're able to launch and create a new space for an MRI, which is, as we heard, a much nicer space, modernized. And the new machine is more efficient, more throughput, and we continue to serve. And we didn't really miss a beat with the MRI. We had one running all the way, literally held together by duct tape until we got the next one up and running, and now we're in a much, much better place. So here are the numbers, Liz. So we went from under a $150 million organization to surpassing a $200 million organization, which is significant. And again, those expenses are people. It's the care, it's the frontline staff that are delivering. That is where the majority of the dollars have been spent. And we'll also point out, we've done it very responsibly. So our expenses went up, but not as much as our revenue. So when we look at the overall, we have a 5-year history. There we were able, and our audited financial statements are on our website. They're there for people to see, and it's public knowledge. We ended the year with a $3.1 million surplus. That is what we target. It's a good financial health strategy. It helps us save for the future. We ended the year with a cash balance of over $31 million. Again, it's good financial health as we prepare for the future. We want to have those elements in place, and that's how we are approaching our care. I have to give credit to the team. There's always more that we can do. There's always more work to be done. There's no shortage of work in healthcare, but we have to make the right choices, the sustainable choices. We have to focus on efficiency and quality. The two are not mutually exclusive, and our teams do that very well to ensure that we're able to deliver care, we're able to get the surgeries done and drop the wait times, we're able to keep our emergency department moving along well, and we're doing all that with high quality, responsive to our community, and doing it in an efficient way. It's interesting, the way we view our outcomes is what is called a balanced scorecard. It's been around for a while, and what it does is it allows us to look at financial measures and patient satisfaction measures and quality measures, as well as our staff satisfaction measures all together, because it's not one over the other. We need to commit to delivering it all, and that's how we hold ourselves accountable. So I'm going to pause there and just take a quick peek at any questions from the group. That is more, I selected a few things out of the video just to highlight the internal side, our people, our processes, our care delivery, our growth. And the growth is an ongoing theme. What we've seen in every graph is that arrow trending upwards, and that's exciting. It's also a little bit daunting. We have more people in the community living longer, living with more chronic illness. All those things are good things. Those are success stories, to be living longer and being able to survive illness and live with illness and thrive with chronic diseases. But that's also more effort on the side of the healthcare providers, and this is how we're responding to that. So that is our growth story, but there's another story, an equally important story, which I think is our partnership stories. So you've heard a lot about our Ontario health teams and people around this table. A number of you have done work on our Ontario health teams. And this is a picture here. We have done a lot of work with a variety of individuals, with our primary care providers, with our community agencies, with our physicians, our nurse practitioners, in working towards trying to support primary care access in this community. We know it's a challenge. There's no doubt it's a challenge across the province, challenge across the country. That is one of our priorities in the Ontario health teams. And we took clinic that was set up as a COVID testing clinic, a COVID vaccination clinic, a COVID cough and cold, and then it turned into a care clinic, and it had about a dozen different iterations before we were able to land this announcement of an investment of $2.3 million. Although it was situated on the hospital, that investment went directly to all the primary care providers to grow a variety of different services. So it's a care clinic, it's interprofessional teams. There's a variety of services to bolster primary care to the extent we can, to integrate with specialist care at the same time. And we're very proud to be able to receive that funding. Again, not just from the hospital's perspective, that's not even really about me, but as a partnership to see another partner be able to thrive and move, which makes the community healthier, which makes the hospital run more effectively. Yes.
Just wondering the period of time for the 2.3 million. Is that like over 3 years, and that's what it means, or over 5 years, or is that year one and we got to go back and get it again next year?
That's a great question, Mike. Yeah. That is $2.3 million of base funding in primary care every year
on a go-forward basis.
On a go-forward basis. Well, so I can tell you on this one, it is remarkable amount of investment. Now we're still looking for family doctors. Everyone's looking for a family doctor, and I'm never stopping recruiting of family doctors. So that's something out there. But this has been a huge infusion in staffing in two different areas. In the Huronia-led clinic, nurse practitioner clinic, and the majority is with Couchiching Family Health team in bolstering their interprofessional team. So the key element, I'll speak to one component, but the key element here is we historically had a primary care service and team there that was available for those that were rostered with physicians within the family health team. We are now, I say we, it's not, they are now able to see anybody in Aurelia. So we're opening up interprofessional care for all Aurelians, whether attached or not attached to a primary care provider. I like speaking, I shouldn't speak on their behalf. This is their hard work in partnership, but I'm excited. I'm excited because this makes a healthier community, getting access to primary care, and we all benefit. If this means fewer emergency department visits, if it means better management of chronic diseases, this is a really good thing for our community. And this is how we all rally together to support each other, to move these ideas forward. There's a couple of elements to this. This one is a bit more hospital-based, our Couchiching Health at Home. So we know when patients come into hospital, it's the recovery, the restoration can be tough, and many require help at home to get home. We started this mid-pandemic where we started providing home care to selected patients for the first 4 weeks of their transition home. It's now expanded to 16 weeks total that we can provide home care. And it's not just the hospital providing it. We have other providers now that support us. We have a variety of senior groups there, Helping Hands, Care Partners, ProRest, the paramedicine program, all coming together to support people for 16-week transition from hospital to home. And the size of this now, we have about 200 and some patients in the hospital receiving care on any given day. We have another 100 patients at home receiving care every day that we're able to transition there where they want to be in the right environment. And it's a combination of a variety of teams that provide that. I could not tell you how busy this place would be if we did not have that service in place, because those patients, for a variety of reasons, transitions home can be difficult. And having groups go in up to 3 times a day to help that transition and then reconnect them to their regular home and community care services and the regular services. So a huge success story here. We're one of the first out of the gate with our Ontario Health team in doing this. It's really translating to great success. And this one was a fairly recent one. This video, the CTV News coverage was a couple of weeks ago. We officially opened, again, we, Couchiching Family Health Team, officially opened the chronic disease management program, starting with chronic obstructive lung disease and congestive heart failure as the two. But it serves as a model. These can be quite debilitating diseases as they progress. And this enables an interprofessional team of doctors, nurses, physios, pharmacists, social workers, all to come together to help individuals manage chronic diseases to thrive, to continue to be lead the lives they want to lead. And this is a clinic now that's available to everyone in the community. It's not restricted to those with family doctors or with nurse practitioners. And it's a new way of thinking that we're building it for those two diseases, but we're looking forward to adding more. So the more chronic diseases, because people are more than the sum of their diseases, we need to manage everything, and we're working at building our repertoire of providers. And this is a great example where we have specialists integrated in, we've got family doctors integrated in, and it's a really nice coming together of the teams. So again, a different way of approaching healthcare, not quite in the hospital, but something that the hospital has been a partner of, a larger collective. And as a group, we have been leaders in the province of moving that collective thinking. Barb is here. I'm going to ask her to say a few words in a couple of minutes, but Barb is the PPAC lead for both the hospital and the Coaching Ontario Health Team. So we are doing all of this work with our providers, but also patients and families and caregivers in mind. Another notable item here is our relationship with the Indigenous Health Circle. And this is something we are immensely grateful for this relationship. It's a formal relationship, a memorandum. It's a letter of relationship that has been signed off by ourselves in the Indigenous Health Circle that defines how we commit to proceeding forward, the principles around engagement, the principles of ensuring that Indigenous health stays in Indigenous hands, the principle of co-creation. We do everything together. We don't do things for others in this group. The principle of sovereignty, data sovereignty, care sovereignty, so that we ensure that we are not doing using any data without proper permissions with the Indigenous groups. And this is being translated to actual services, which is really exciting. We are just in the process of launching a new program at Beausoleil First Nation on Christian Island, where we have dialysis, hemodialysis services moving to the island. So they can receive their hemo there, and it's a community-led process, working with our team, with GBGH, Georgian Bay General Hospital team, as well as the communities on the island, which is will be transformative for those individuals that come across 3 times a week receiving hemodialysis. They now can receive it in their community, but it has to be designed in a way that is Buddhism with the Indigenous communities, with their providers, and it's been a phenomenal experience.
First patient is scheduled to receive home hemo on the island next week.
Yeah, we're very excited. So it's a different way of working, and we're thrilled to be able to do it, and we're learning a lot. And that's part of the commitment too. We've committed as a board, as a senior team, as a hospital, to learn more in terms of Indigenous healing practices and ensuring that this learning makes us a better organization all around. And this is a relationship we will continue to foster. So all this work, we talk about growth, we talk about relationship, it really comes down to building a future for this hospital, for this community, and all partners around it. And I'll highlight, we've done a lot of work. We've talked about the visit from the Premier. We have a quote there. We took the Premier over to visit the pediatrics wing. It's one of the oldest wings we have. So we thought we might as well put our best foot forward, that kind of thing. And it was a great session. And it was an interesting quote we got in the media. There's no greater need than this hospital right here for a new facility. Next time we come back, we'll have a better announcement. My response to the Premier was, thank you. We thought $25 million is pretty good, but we'll take the next announcement too. So that was a great session. It was a great opportunity to interact with the team. And it really was a catapult for us. It was a clear signal. We know it takes time. We know approvals take time, and there's a process, and there's lots of projects in the queue, and all the reasons why. But this told us the government sees this project as a priority. It told us we need to keep moving, and part of the conversation is, what do we do next? Well, one of the first things we did, well, I'll go back to the financial status. We need to plan financially for a new hospital. We know it's going to cost money, and that's why we've already done that. We've been doing that for a couple of years. And that's part of our financial strategy. But secondly, find a site. That's an important step forward. And that was something that we got a very clear signal to start looking for a site. So we put out an expression of interest late last year into this year. We have a number of sites that came back. We're going through a process, and we've made a commitment to our community. Picking a site, I have no illusions that we will ever get 100% agreement on a site. There will always be opinions. We know that. But what we think is the best we can offer is full transparency on the process, and let's understand what's important to people. Let's understand how the decisions are being made. Let's engage the community in the process. And the outcome will be determined by a good analysis by the experts that do this on a regular basis. And they'll come to us with some recommendations. And as long as we can offer that, and we've always committed to having a very clear and transparent process, and that's what we're starting right now. So we're just about ready to launch that process over the summer, and we're excited because we feel it'll get us to a place where we have a preferred site and we can make the next level of decisions, planning, moving forward. Which gets me to community engagement, and this is something where our Fireside Chat has always been a forum for community engagement. We do this, we've committed to Fireside Chats twice a year, but that's not it. We know people come here, and it's great that you're able to come here, but we need to get out. We need to get out more, and we have a couple of examples here. We will get to every Provost club in the next 3 or 4 months. We'll get to the Kiwanis clubs and the Rotary clubs of the Orillia area. We have a really highly engaged community engagement committee that gives us direction on a quarterly basis. We've just established connections with Friends of Soldiers to create a forum that people can get updates on information like events like this directly. We have representation on the Community Engagement Committee as well. PFAC, I'm going to ask Barb to speak a bit more about this, but we have all these different groups. They are being engaged, the committees are being engaged in the site selection process. We will be sure to continue to reach out with all of those different groups and give this updates or versions of this update to make sure that people A, have an understanding of the direction we're going. B, it's a story we want to tell. It's always been, I'll look to Liz, it's always been a tough going healthcare. It's never been easy, and it continues to be difficult. But we're really excited about the year we had and the year we're going into in the direction. So this is a story we want to tell and share with the community. And what makes us successful is our ability to reach out to our PFAC members, to our community at large. So that is an important part of how we see our success, is our ability to reach the people we serve. So with that, I'm going to ask Barb to say a few comments on behalf of PFAC. I got to say, our Patient Family Advisory Committee has now been embedded in almost every facet of the work we do. I'll let you speak to that, but it's a pleasure being on almost all meetings. We have a lot of meetings, but many meetings we will turn on our Zoom and there will be a PFAC member supporting us in one way, shape, or form. So that's wonderful to see. Anyway, I'm handing it over to you, Barb.
Thank you. I've just made a couple of notes here, so I just that thing. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Patient Family Advisory Council. And short, just to make sure that everybody knows, that does stand for PFAC, and that's what we're going to be calling it. My name is Barb Shakel-Barkey, and I've had the opportunity to chair both OSMH and the Couchiching Ontario Health Team PFAC. So again, talking about community involvement, and so on, we cross that. We're currently looking for individuals to assist in providing the hospital with patient, family, caregiver perspectives, and how the hospital can better serve those individuals. Our PFAC is currently, as you mentioned, sitting on a multitude of different teams, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. Emergency department, ICU, privacy, digital health, emergency preparedness, medical health care, senior care. Essential Care Partner was a big program that was implemented by the PFAC team, because we believe that there are essential care partners that are integral to the patient care. Dialysis, organ donation, and yes, as Herman mentioned, we are on the new site selection committee. So you're for the hospital. So your voice will be heard from that perspective. The list goes on and on and on. What kinds of things do PFAC do? They provide the perspective of patient, family, caregivers on planning, delivery, and evaluation of care. We contribute to the understanding and improvement of patient family experience. We assist in reviewing and providing feedback, promote and improve partnership between the families, the caregivers, staff, and physicians. We provide recommendations and identify healthcare needs and where the gaps might be. You might ask, what are the qualifications to be a PFAC member? Well, you have to live in the area. You have to have been a patient or a caregiver of a patient who has used the services of OSMH. If you desire to work collaboratively with the hospital teams, would like to give positive ideas and bring those to the table, if you have lived experience regarding healthcare, and if you'd like to see positive outcomes, we are looking for you. The PFAC team meets on every other month. Should you wish to become part of the planning teams, which I've already mentioned, there would be some additional times that you need to attend meetings and so on. The other opportunity would be to join sort of an ad hoc team. So that it's a short-term project, you'd simply become involved for a short period of time, and then your job is done with that. If you'd like more information about PFAC, you can certainly find it on our website. You contact myself or our staff rep, who is Terry Denny, and we'd be happy to chat with anyone. But we are looking for people to come and help serve the hospital and patients, families, and caregivers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barb. You're excellent at the plugging the PFAC. It is just phenomenal. And it's so important. They have become and they continue to be an integral part. So I believe that is the end of the formal part of the discussion, and we do have 15 minutes left for questions. I'm going to go to the computer. Nope, nothing there.
I had a question.
Oh, sure.
I had kind of heard some whispers in the background, and it was with regards to the CHF and COPD clinics.
Yes.
And what is the difference between what we did before the clinic and what we're doing now with the clinic? And maybe you could expand a little bit more on what we're doing now differently.
Yeah. So we built off an existing clinic, which is a CHF clinic, that some congestive heart failure clinic, but part of the Ontario Health Team program is creating integrated care pathways. So that is mapping out all the steps from right at the beginning, where you early diagnosis, where you start to have difficulties and you're working with your primary care provider or an emergency room visit, all the way to end stage disease, where you need multiple specialist supports from different areas. What we've been able to do is map that all out into one system, where once you enter into the clinic, you have access to all those different services. It's not that everyone needs all those things at the same time, but there is an approach to say at every point along the way, the team, the coordination, the navigator will address those needs to get the individuals to the right places at the right times, and having access to nurse practitioners, family doctors, specialists, pharmacists, social workers, nutritionists. Like, it just allows all that to happen, where historically you may have found yourself in the position of trying to negotiate all these different appointments. It becomes part of a singular area. And what they've been able to do at the Couche Family Health Team, if you go in the main entrance all the way to the back and off to the right, it's now a clinical space, which is amazing because it's in the right place. It's integrated into primary care services with the interprofessional teams. And now there's a physical location where you can receive access, and it's growing and evolving, growing in terms of disease states, growing in terms of providers that we can add to the mix. But there's a much more streamlined approach to having access. And I'm going to look over to Jill and see if there's anything else you want to add to that answer.
You did a great job, Carmen. I will add one thing that I think, Barb, is a little bit different with some of this more integrated approach, and that is the creation of coordinated care plans. So for patients who either you have a family physician or a nurse practitioner, or you don't, as you're navigating that journey and you pop into the emergency department or you pop into this clinic, there will actually be a coordinated care plan that's available to any provider that you see. So they know where you're at, they know what education's been provided, and there's a standardization then that is advantageous that, you know, maybe not everybody had access to. So that component of whether you were receiving home care for something, whether you have some sort of navigation support, it's all documented in the same place that is accessible to all of the partners. So that is also a really big change for the better in terms of that coordination of care, because there's nothing worse than somebody coming in cold to a clinic and not knowing where they're at. So that is another advantage.
Great point. And the cool part of integration is if that individual were to come into the emergency department, maybe not feeling the greatest, forgets about the plan, there's a prompt in the computer system that says, by the way, there's a plan, go look at it, kind of thing. So it directs the providers to take a look at it when it's there. We call it an alert system so that people know there is a plan and can check it.
Yeah, the other thing that I'd like to add is when we were doing the mapping out of all of these steps and so on, PFAC was there, and PFAC made sure that all the way along the journey, not only is the patient looked at and cared for, and there's a plan, the family and caregivers are also asked, how are you doing in your caregiving role? Is there any support you need? What is happening with the family and the caregiver? Because this whole journey is a family thing. It's not just patient. And as we move along the journey, we get better patient outcomes if we care for the whole unit. And so that's one.
Thank you, Barb. Okay. Any other questions?
Sounds like it's got a nice flow.
Yes.
And so what I'm hearing, hopefully the patient's not gonna fall through cracks, right? And the fact that you can tap in or be prompted, and that's accessible and emerge should that patient come in, it's like more information is better than asking the same questions over and over again. I answered that already.
Yep.
And that was a prime example of where PFAC stepped in, and having been a caregiver and still a caregiver, you know, how many times do I have to say who I am, who the patient is, what medication they're on, who the doctor is, and it does become overwhelming when you keep doing it over and over again. And that's what's going to be amazing about this system.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And that computer system is available not only in the hospital and primary care, but every OHT partner has access to that. So all the providers have access.
Right.
And it was a build on. We started actually with a group of, our targeted population was frail seniors. So there are several frail seniors who are also very high risk that we started this process with. So this year is now building on with CHF and COPD. Some of those patients may actually be the same, but some of them are not. And how do we continue to grow a network of integration and coordinated care for those patients most at risk?
I feel it's like it's a reassurance that I'm not forgotten and I'm not gonna sit.
Yeah. And a single number to call.
Yes.
So the other beauty is you can, if you forget everything else, you can call 211 and get reconnected.
Oh, wow.
They'll find you and they'll reconnect you on 211 because they're part of our team. Which is pretty cool. Actually, that idea was a made in Aurelia idea, which is now rolled out to the entire province.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So 211 has been very busy working with other OHTs across the province, but it's brilliant. Like, you can just think of 211, 811, 911. Like, there's some logic to that, and it makes it as easy as possible for patients and caregivers.
I heard the word navigator, you used the word navigator, so please expand on that a bit.
So, absolutely, thanks for the question. So navigation, we have, what we found in some of the mapping sessions, even the care providers didn't know all the services that were available. So when you map it all out and you get everyone in a room together and say, what do you have to offer?
Mhm.
And you put it on a continuum, it's all these different pieces.
Mhm.
So part of that is random, getting to the right places at the right times. Part of that is a lot of hard work. You're on the phone, you're making all these connections, and you're relying on your, our physicians and nurses have a lot on their minds, and they have to remember all these details. So what the navigator concerns themselves with, two things. One is a process to be able to document all these services so they're there, and then any door is the right door. So if you enter into the system from anywhere and you come into this clinic, it now opens the door to everything else. So whether you got in because your family doctor or nurse practitioner said, hey, you need to see this clinic, you walk in, or your specialist sends you, you end up at the same place through that navigation process.
Okay, so I heard that there were patients with family physicians.
Yeah.
Great. There are some that are sort of out in left field a bit because somebody's retired or whatever. And then we have a third group that is, I just moved to the area, I don't have a doctor. And that must be hard for those patients. So they're welcome there too as well?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the
So how
big.
do they present themselves? I'm a patient with no doctor.
So there's a couple of ways. We talk about this a lot because this is where the connection to the hospital is important.
Right.
So if you're in the emergency department and you present and you don't have a family doctor, or you're poorly connected, you may have moved from somewhere else, then there's a pathway through that approach. People can just walk in. We're doing more advertising to the public. If people have, they can be assessed and screened to see if they want to get into the clinic. And what we, like that announcement was like literally a couple of weeks ago, and patients have already started rolling in. What we envision is reaching out to more marginalized populations to say, how do we get to people in the Lighthouse shelter who may not have a family doctor or a nurse practitioner? So there is an outreach component. The beauty is we're all interconnected, so we have the ability to help make those cross links, but that's part of the work. It's still early days. It's still but what is exciting about this work is we're designing it not for a simple solution for today. It's a scalable system that we can expand on going forward. And as a hospital, it's interesting. This isn't necessarily our work, but we're a part of it because we're part of the team. We've made a commitment of it. Our board, our senior team, everyone is on side to say this is important for our community, looking outside of our walls at the same time as looking inside of our walls in terms of the work we do. But this is where we see the future of how we work together. This is how we're going to deal with more people in the province living longer with more chronic illness. This has to be the answer.
How we do with recruitment. I mean, sometimes we fall behind, we don't have enough physicians in the community. We already have to talk.
You know, we're chugging away. We're actually just talking with the mayor yesterday, how we're doing, because, we get funding from a variety of different municipal stakeholders, and, it's tough provincially, across communities and across the nation as well. So we're having to pull out a lot of different resources now to take a look at different ways we can attract people to our community. Luckily, our community is one of the easiest parts of my job. It is beautiful. Mm-hmm. And that is a great selling feature, especially because we're only an hour and a half from the city, whereas people are landing. Right. But we're trying to expand our approach now, more from an international perspective. We're well aware we're not graduating enough family medicine students right now. We're building up seats, but sometimes we're not going to see the fruit of the labor for another decade. So we have many Canadians abroad that want to come home. So there's been some changes with licensing about a year ago that opened some of those avenues for people to get their license here back in Canada, in Ontario. So we're working to get some of those people to come back home. So one of our tactics has been repatriation. Okay. So we attended a session back in October and went to Ireland. We met with 250 Canadian. Wow. well, which was very successful. We actually we identified 22 of those people within our catchment area or within about a 30-minute drive. So it's more of a targeted recruitment to bring those people to stay active in our community as well and help them with those pathways, getting them situated and those relationships built. And I'm happy to report we have 10 of those students that will be doing observerships this summer with our family docs and within the hospital as well. So yes, they're still early year medical students, but we're hopeful to continue to pave that path for them, continue to expand. So we're looking at between now and January adding another 40. Okay.
So I want to add a couple more items to that. So that was an impromptu delegation of an answer, so I appreciate that very much. There's two other ways that we can really recruit physicians of primary care, specialty care, all forms, and we already do this, but teaching.
Yeah.
And teaching is a great way, and it's something that, again, looking forward, we see 250 nurses come through this organization on an annual basis teaching through Georgian College. And Jill and I, we meet with every one of them. Everyone, when they finish their rotations, we sit down with every one of them and talk to them about how they did on their rotation, what we did well, what we can do better. And we get good reviews, and it's no accident that we haven't required the services of agency nurses now for the better part of 6 months. So that's we've been working hard at that, and that's all around the teaching mandate. It takes time for people to develop it and create their skill set, but that's an investment we're willing to make. And secondly, recruiting to a team. And go back to what we talked about at the OHT. It's one thing to enter into a practice if you're a specialist or a primary care physician or an NP and you're working in isolation. It's another thing when you have a team around you. It makes for a much better quality, much better satisfaction in the job, and we're building this for the patients, but we also recognize it makes a better provider experience having a team. And we see that in all areas of the hospital. So we're trying to make that a selling feature as well. And we do recruitment as a community. So if you want to come to Aurelia to work, we'll figure out where when you get here. But because we're all integrated, we're all working together. And if you start, I'll use an example of a nurse, and we've had joint recruitment fairs over the last year. If you're a nurse, come work in Aurelia. If you start off in community and want to flip over to hospital in 2 years, we'll make that happen for you. We'll recruit you together, or vice versa. We're not going to hold it against you if you want to move into a different sector. But the last thing we want to do is be competing with each other.
Yeah.
We want to embrace it to say, we will meet all of your career aspirations in this community. Come here and stay. What's the tagline? Come here for the job, stay for the people. Is that?
Wow.
Like, well, maybe now.
So I saw it on someone's desk. I thought it was yours. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Come for the job, stay for the community. That's pretty cool.
That's good.
I just have one question about the navigation and the care plan. Who is responsible for it?
Yeah.
Who makes sure it does flow, and who all puts their information into it?
So we have navigators that are they carry a lot of that work, and there's different levels people can contribute to it and add to it as they go along. So part of getting access to it, some are read only. They can look at it and they'll see it. For example, emergency department, they'll need to see it. But when they go back to the clinics, it's a really good point, because you just don't want these plans going off in a million directions with 18 different versions. Is this the most recent one or that? It lives in a single place. It's always up to date, or the most recent up to date version. And people can add, the appropriate people can add to it. And that's how they follow along. But it is generated with the entry into the clinic work.
It actually lives in the home and community electronic platform, is where it lives.
Yeah.
And then anybody who is in some of these other specialty clinics and areas are granted access to be able to go to contribute.
So is it sort of like progress notes? It's like a doctor coming in.
Yeah.
But a dynamic progress.
Yeah. I know where your mind's at, but it's in the zone.
Yeah.
It's in the zone.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it's a living document, so it never goes stale.
That's good, yeah.
It never goes stale. It just keeps adding and adjusting as it goes along. I know T-side. Everyone can hear. One more question.
It's sort of unrelated but related. Nice that you have those great programs for chronic disease. Fabulous idea. Lots of coordination going on with care in the community. Love that. But what about my young friend who's in her thirties with her husband, late thirties, wants to have a family, cannot find a family doctor or anybody to take them on? What's available for someone like that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of pathways, and as you heard, there's no simple answers to that immediately. It's a difficult strategy. So they don't need, and I'll expand on it, and please correct me, they're not going to qualify for chronic disease management. That's not what they need. They need basic primary care and family medicine, if you will, family care. So we're transitioning our care clinic to have episodic care, we call it, where you can go in as you need it. It's not quite emergency or urgent care. Like urgent care is a specific injury. Episodic care is, we'll run cancer screening clinics, colorectal clinics, PAP clinics. We'll run some of those screens that you typically would see in primary care, but if you don't have a primary care provider, you still need the service. So we'll have an episodic clinic. That's in transition to go over to the Couchiching Family Health Team. We used to have it here. It's going to be reset over there. But there's a transition there. We have had more rostered patients in through the nurse practitioner-led clinics. Now, a whole bunch of places got positions and are recruiting for nurse practitioners. Now you can't find a nurse practitioner because everyone's recruiting. However, we will have positions available as they're part of the team and providing primary care for sure. Those are a couple of the ways that we're trying to advance it. But short of, we know, especially in recent years, between retirements and growth have been outpacing our ability to bring back capacity into the system. So that's a real concern of ours. And I was talking to someone recently. It's amazing in hospital how much that is a priority, because there is no high functioning health system without a strong primary care system. So you need the best hospital in the world, but you need to be working with primary care. So that's why we've adopted this approach. That's why we're investing the time. It's fascinating that I'm doing Fireside Chat about the hospital. And I think we talked way more about primary care, chronic disease, because that is where health is generated. And that is part of our shared purpose. It's not about fixing illness. We do that really well. It's important, but it's about generating health. And that's different than the traditional hospital where you see inside as well. So it's exciting. It's future oriented, and I want to credit all the team. And I didn't mention all the members of the Couchiching Ontario Health team, but there are a lot. There's anchor partners. There's probably 40 or 50 different partners that come every 2 months to reconnect. And what we do at those tables is identify opportunities. It takes time to change a system. It doesn't change overnight. But creating a more integrated approach where people are working together in a different kind of way is the answer, and it's going to take time to fill in those gaps.
So the thing I would add is just make sure she registers for Healthcare Connect, but identify she's a handler.
She had it. In the meantime, and she said, gone, all the way down to Toronto looking for it.
Yeah. No, my kids came home. I said, "Do not give up your family doctor in Toronto, because it's tough. It's tough."
Is there any so if I were to pursue that question further with the team from the Christian Family Health, to whom would I go?
So they do work through Healthcare Connect. The care clinic hasn't been, we literally closed the doors to the clinic last week to move it over there. So we're in a bit of a transition right now. So keep your eyes open for that. It's the care clinic, the Couchiching Ontario Health and Care Clinic. It will reopen. They have some positions filled, but not enough to really provide a huge amount of service. I don't know the details of the.
We're still working those through.
Yeah.
I think they're aiming end of summer.
Yeah.
And if you're on Facebook or Instagram, watch there for announcements.
Yeah.
They're very good at updating the announcements as they come available.
In the longer term vision, we see that as the answer to some of it, but it's a multifaceted challenge. We're not going to fix primary care in the next 4 months.
And the nurse practitioner clinic, the Huronia Clinic, has been actively adding NPs to their roster to roster more patients. So they took several of our NPs that were working here in our care clinic, who are amazing, and working through that process with Healthcare Connect to be able to add additional patients to that roster.
Yeah.
In a row. So that's another avenue in terms of assisting with primary care.
What was that one again? You said the statement, come to Arroyo. Oh, come for the job, stay for the job, speak to the community, failing it.
Yeah. Okay. Last call for questions from online.
Okay.
We're good.
So we clean the chats are twice a year.
Twice a year.
Excellent, spring.
Spring, no, it'll be probably winter. November, December-ish,
Okay,
I would say.
so it's always September and Christmas then?
Yeah, this one is very specific to the AGM, and actually, we got some feedback. We're gonna try to delay it a little bit into July. This is like graduation week, and I think we kind of messed up on that, so every kid is graduating this week apparently.
That's true.
So we were gonna avoid this week. It was our AGM week. We wanted to do it right after our AGM, so we'll probably do it in July, and then we'll find the right time in the winter time to make it accessible to people, depending on the ebb and flow of the work. Sometimes there's announcements, sometimes there's opportunities, but we will have it over the fall winter time frame. Yeah. And for those, we will announce it publicly. We typically post it on social media and regular media, and send notices out through Friends of Soldiers and other avenues.
For the upcoming meeting.
Yeah, for future meetings. Yeah.
So we can go back and look at on the video, it's online, and then the annual report or budget, we can tap into that as well.
So financial statements are online. They're under accountability. The website link for the video will be online tomorrow morning. We have a press release going out tomorrow, so it'll go in the media with a link to the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Well then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.